Mount Kenya leaders are still hitting hard on DP Gachagua over his continued association with the Kenya Kwanza government.
We have 16 days to the end of the financial year or something like that, and you should be on the lookout for the mother of all times in terms of corruption. The stealing that will happen between now and the end of the financial year, it's something that if it was addressed the last time when you were budgeting and leading the finance bill, the burden that we have already gone through will not have been occasioned on Kenyans. Why? Because there are very many of the votes that have not been exhausted, and they will be doing everything else, including buying of shoes and belts, to ensure that they exhaust that money. His Excellency has mentioned about our former president. And I think what he was saying, in short, what I heard, is that in the last financial year, his office had been allocated something like 600 million shillings. Throughout that period, he had only received 28 million shillings. The balance had also been spent. And alikuwa nauliza, nani alikula? Wakenya waabiwe na waache kuabiwa kwamba alipatiwa. And why you need a committee to answer such a simple question, it actually helps you to know that mwizi must be part of that committee, or one constituting the committee. And I want to say this, nimalize na kusema ya kwamba this double speak, wale ambao wako na magari msome vizuri. Dungu jana amesema, if you look at what he led and presented, there is no capping on the motor vehicle tax. In his presentation there is no capping. Ni ingine tulikuwa tunasukushwa hapa wa Kenya is what was given a cap of 100,000. So you start working on the cost of your vehicle or the value of your vehicle and know the corresponding amount of money that you need to pay on an annual basis. I think it is not useful anymore, perhaps to own a car. But I conclude by saying this. Look at the way they abandoned all the improvement on the transport sector, public transport sector. If that had been achieved, many people would choose to use the public transport and avoid buying cars. So you abandon one way and you kill us through the other way. We have a disaster budget, a disaster finance bill, and a disaster regime. Wakenya, let us send these guys home. Let them be a one-term regime. Na wale ambao wanafikiria ya kwamba utakaa kwa hiyo chimo ya ukora na uanze kusanya watu ati wakufuate ukiwa kwa hiyo chimo ya ukora, kwenda ukadaganye watu huko kwa village ama pahali ingine. We are not going to be fooled again. And again, I want to repeat this. Don't think that when you apologize and say all the other things you are saying, we are going to follow you kwa hiyo chimo ya wizi. We are not going to be part of that. This is the alternative.
Jubilee Secretary General Jamaa Kioni wants leaders from the Mount Kenya region still in the KK regime to forge unity with the Jubilee Azimio faction, terming continued association with the current government a misguided move and being irresponsible.
It's clear that what we are saying as Azimio is that we condemn the budget and the finance bill in total, and we actually reject it from this platform, or reject them from where we start, and are asking our members of parliament to hear it, hear the members of the public, listen to what we are telling you. You are elected to represent the people, not to represent the disaster in the name of Ruto. And why do I call him a disaster? He has reduced school feeding program by 2 billion shillings. He has reduced the education budget by 25%. Special education by 35%. The primary education by 20%. We can actually see the return of provincial administration in full swing, to the point where the chiefs are now required to ensure that you have complied with your tax requirements. Back to the dark old days. I think it is important to also note that the special protection, pesa wazee, has been reduced by 3 billion shillings.
spokesperson for the fourth president, that you put figures in a vote, inflate them, or you don't disburse to the rightful person. I think you saw this previously, the controller of budget on record explaining to Kenyans that when you look at the amount put in the vote head used to pay her, you will see an amount that is several times what her annual salary is. The question is, have you another person who is also controller of budget? And that's what you're seeing. You put a figure in the benefits package of the retired president, then you don't disburse, and you wonder who then is there. The other way budgeted corruption is, of course, you make provisions that outrightly, if you examine them, you could see something is amiss. As His Excellency explained to you, the National Treasury has a very interesting development vote called Strategic Responses to Public Initiatives. What is that vote? Or is it a slush fund for senior executives in the regime to use for? What is that vote? The second point I want to emphasize is that you cannot grow the economy by increasing taxes. I mean, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Kenyans, this regime is fond of traveling. They have been to the US today, I understand they've gone to Italy and so on. They are fond of traveling. Throughout the world, governments are reducing taxes in order to stimulate economic activity. What is this voodoo type economics where we think we are going to stimulate economic activity by increasing taxes? Finally, on the question of public debt, 70% of interest payments paid this year, and this year interest payments are going to be above 1.8 trillion. 70% of that is for domestic borrowing. The level of interest rate that we are paying for that debt is determined by the government. And by making that determination, it makes it harder for the private sector to operate. Again, I ask, what is this voodoo type economics that makes them believe that private sector can afford to pay 30% for credit? Where really is that possible? Finally, to wade perhaps in an unfamiliar territory, some of people there in this regime advising them that, you know, politics is a contact sport. Well, perhaps I should urge Kenyans, well, let us take it up.
Correct.
Na tuwasalimie, mukiwaona mahali popote muwasalimie in the manner that they want you to salimia them. I thank you.
Yeah. We therefore reaffirm our stand that all well-meaning Kenyans must oppose the Finance Bill 2024 and have thus instructed all our parliamentary members to lead from the front in rejecting this punitive bill in its totality. Finally, we salute Kenyans who have used text messaging, phone calls, and social media initiatives, #FindMyMP, to urge their legislators to listen to their constituents and vote no. This peaceful civic assertiveness and engagement will eventually become the norm, especially under our leadership as your government in waiting. Thank you, and may God bless Kenya. End of the statement. I'll ask my colleagues here to add one or two things. While I was away, there was some very interesting political developments. It was one time, wartime Prime Minister Churchill of the UK, who said a week in politics is a very long time. And I think somebody had a hashtag, find Kalonzo. I am back and in good spirits.